Welcome back to another episode of Conversations. And if you're joining us for the first time, we want to welcome you to the social media family. Now, we want to encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you haven't done so, click the bell so you receive notifications whenever new features come out. Today's episode, we're going to have a conversation with Danice Hinds, who is a mentor, entrepreneur, and investor. Let's go talk to her. Let's go! Let's get to know a bit about you first, Denise. So tell us a bit about yourself and your professional background.
Okay, so good morning to you. And before I say anything else, let me just thank you. And it is my honor to be on this interview this morning. So it's totally my honor that you guys, saw enough value here to reach out. A little bit about myself. As you said, my name is Danice Hinds. I am 25 years old. I'm a natural hairstylist by profession. I have been styling hair now for 6 years. I believe that everybody saw me in this profession before I did. I wanted to be, I remember being 13 years old and they asked, what do you want to be? And I roller or a financial advisor, and I wrote that down. I finished school. I wanted to know everything about money. I wanted to know everything about finance and all of that. And I went on to do banking. I went on to do law and accounting at Barbados Community College, and then I did banking and finance at the UWE Phil campus. And after doing all of that, heading in the right direction to be a financial advisor, I made a decision, and I believe coming on to the end of UWE, that I was going to, be a hairstylist. That was going to be my career. That was going to be my profession. That was the industry that I was going to excel in. And I started my salon, and that was in 2014. I've been a hairstylist ever since then. Almost 3 years ago now, September will be 3 years, I started to really, go back to my first love, which was money and investing and finance. And I became an investor in the foreign exchange market professionally almost 3 years ago now. And I didn't just stop there learning how to invest and learning about the stock market. Well, it's a different, excuse me, is a difference between the stock and the stock market and the foreign exchange market. But I really dived into the foreign exchange market professionally 3 years ago. And then I started to educate the masses about that as well. And then lastly, but most importantly, or the biggest part of my heart, is philanthropy. And in 2018, I remember January 1st, 2018, I woke up and I was watching somebody's snap on Instagram. And they were talking about, don't wait until everything is good to start. Just start. You don't have to wait until you have everything in motion to get I watched that snap, and in a split second, I got up and I got a paper and a pen, and I started to write down a vision that I wrote since 2013, and that was to get into the aspect of philanthropy, have a nonprofit organization, and my heart is with young girls across Barbados, and it's going to grow. So that's what I do in a nutshell: hairstylist, investor, philanthropy. That's what I do in a nutshell. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Oh man, that's a very big nutshell. And that's actually pretty fantastic, because listening to you was saying, who could imagine at 25 years old, you're doing all of these things? And it must take some kind of very good time management on your end to be running your own business and nonprofit organization and doing all of these things and looking so good. You don't look like you're doing these things. You're making it work for you, obviously. So tell us then. You mentioned that you would have done law and accounting, and then you went on to university to do banking and finance. But then you decided to become a hairstylist. What birthed that passion?
I think that it is natural for me to style hair. My mom is a cosmetologist. So as a child, I was not outside. I was the typical girl. Like, I had Barbies. I had dolls. I had combs, fake houses, everything. I was the typical girl, and I used to braid my Barbie's hair on Sundays and plait their hair for school and all of that. And then I was the girl at school, you come to school super early, I'll plait the front of your hair, and at lunchtime I'll do the back, right? But I had to keep my grades up because my mom she wasn't having any of that. So I mean, it was always there, but I think fear stepped in when I used to hear a lot of the stigma attached to being a hairstylist, or the stigma attached to your profession being a skill set. Because what I heard, or what I was exposed to, was that you became a hairstylist if you didn't do well in school, or you did something with a trade if you weren't good at academics. So I was no, that's not the case. And what really did it for me was representation. Representation mattered. So yes, I was in salons and all of that, but then I saw my mom. She left corporate Barbados and she opened her own salon, and the professionalism and the business acumen and everything that goes into working in an office, she brought that to a salon. And I'm like, wow, here it is, that yes, it is possible. You don't have to behave in a certain way or have this salon culture or this gossip, and you don't have to do that. You can be very, very professional with a skill, with a trade. So when I saw that, and she was doing extremely well with business, I said, okay, good. This is a natural talent that I do have. I'm bringing the business acumen or the business element to it. So it just happened. I went to the salon once. I heard it. I would usually go to the salon with my mom on Saturday mornings, and this one particular Saturday, a client was there, and she asked my mom if I could plait the front of her hair, and I was like, okay, cool, that's no problem. So I plait the front of her hair, and she absolutely loved it. The next week, she called back, and she was like, "Is Danice there?" So now she's calling to bug me, like if I'm a hairstylist. I'm not a hairstylist. So my mom was like, "Yeah, she's here." So she came back. She got her hair done. And then the word started to spread. And then people started to call, school children started to get their hair done. Then I had a station at the salon. Then it just grew and grew and grew. So I created a page, and it just became official. And I registered the business. That was in 2014. And that's how I transitioned from wanting to be in that finance area into cosmetology. So that's how that happened.
So beautiful. And
yeah,
it worked so smoothly that, as you mentioned, you were able to take the same expertise and the knowledge that you had from doing the banking and finance and all these things from the financial side, and then apply it to your own business as well. That's fantastic. So you mentioned a bit about school and have been and used to doing person's hair and everything. So tell us, what is one of your most memorable moments from either high school or college?
One of my most memorable moments. So, funny enough, it starts off as not a good story, but it played out well, because I was always, from a child, right? I was always big on service. And when it was obviously not at this magnitude as 11 or 12 or 13, but I always wanted to be the person that would speak on your behalf. If you are the shy child, or you were being unfair at school, I would, excuse me, that's not right, right? If somebody, even an adult, if an adult did something that I didn't think was, you should have done that, I was the person to be like, no. So what happened to foster that confidence is that as a child, my mom would always she would never tell me to shut up, right? And let me just explain what I mean. She would never say shut up or don't say that or whatever. She would let me say stuff, or let me express myself how it came out. However it came out, it came out. And then over time, she would say, well, you know, Danice, you could have said it this way, or this was, you know, a more effective way of expressing yourself. So because I had that upbringing where I was not muted, or, you know, a child should be seen and not heard, that was not my upbringing at all. It was say it, right? So I now took that into school, and growing up, at first it was a little shaky because my correction would come off, or my opinions would come off rude at times. So I just had to, you know, hone that skill.
Yeah.
And it just grew and grew and grew. And I started to be the voice for people. And when it came to being a prefect at school, I wanted to be a prefect. Of course, it's like that's like natural for my personality. And then I became a prefect, and then we got to fifth form and senior school. So then now you're vying for a head girl, and you know, and we went to the prefect camp, and that happened during the summer. So this was summer 2014, right? We went to this prefect camp, and the student body had to vote for who they wanted to be their head girl or deputy or whoever was in the senior position. And I knew that a lot of individuals voted for me. I knew that because we had a rally, and it was amazing. I knew that I possibly won, or even if I didn't win head girl, it was deputy or something close. And when the results were read, I didn't get anything, like nothing. So I was devastated. Of course, it was heartbreaking because in my mind, I know that I got this in the bag, but then you're not even nothing. So then it was really heartbreaking. So after that, the PTA, not the PTA, where the parents would go farm level meeting, that came about, and my mom went. So she was talking to the teachers, and you know, finding out like what happened or whatever.
Yeah.
To find out that the only reason that I didn't get the position was because I was not in any extracurricular activities at the school. So in their opinion, I didn't have the school spirit. So I was like, what? So that was a really like trying time for me in coming into fifth form, right? Because you got one shot to get head girl or whatever.
Yeah.
So of that came where I am today, because I had all of these plans for head girl and stuff, because in first form, so this was I was planning for head girl for 4 years, right? And I knew that I saw a lot of young girls or students my age not having the guidance that I had, or not having that individual that they can go to and say, well, this is how I feel, but help me express it in the best way possible. Or I'm not excelling in a particular area, but maybe it's because I just need somebody to listen to me. A lot of young girls didn't have that. And at my age, I couldn't facilitate something big enough for that. So in my mind, when I got to head girl, I would to the principal, and we would have you know, all these different activities after school and during school and all of that. And I didn't get the position, but the passion didn't die. The vision didn't die. So out of my most memorable moment not being the best at secondary school, it led now to having my nonprofit, which is the Project Here to Soul Girls Club. So yeah, it was memorable, but not for the best reasons, but it still played out well.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And all I hear throughout all of this, like just listening to you, is like purpose. And you could just hear how it's intertwined. And then like knowing where you are now, how you can see now how it's paid off and how it's come full circle and it's worked together for your good in the end. And we know that you're a Christian. Can you tell us a bit about that journey? How has that been?
Yeah, so my mom, growing up, she wasn't a church person. My auntie, my aunt Pamela, she doesn't have any children, but she has a lot of godchildren. So she was like the god mommy for the entire block, right? We have a big men today who are in their 30s, 40s, and they're calling her Auntie Pam. So she's really my Auntie Pam, but she's Auntie Pam to the entire world, right? So she was the individual that would walk the entire block and pick up all the children. To say I'm around 3 or 4 years old. So we pick up the children, she's picking up everybody's child, and we're walking and we're going to Cavehill Wesleyan church in Cavehill. And we just walk, she picking up, we walk into church because I lived in Eden Lodge. So we would walk and we're going to church and we're picking up all the children. So from really, really early, I was in church, Sunday school, and then I went on to the Abundant Life Assembly Church, and I was in the Sunbeams choir there. I'm not a singer, but to do for young children at Abundant Life, so I was in the Sunbeams choir and all that. So I had a really solid church or spiritual upbringing. My granny, everybody in my home, very, very strong on spirituality and Christianity. So then as I got older now, I wanted, or my urge was to get on a deeper level of understanding, right? So I went past my thinking went past, oh, Jesus loves me, and it just had to be deeper for me. So I went on a personal quest to, just read and really understand and cross-reference like different material, not questioning the word, but just going deeper in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started, funny enough, when I started investing, I really dived deeper into my spirituality because I saw what not understanding wanting money did for people. People went crazy. People would do crazy stuff for money. Greed, not having the right heart, not having a solid foundation, not having core values, and it has to be based on something. And if it's not based on God, then I'm sorry, individuals have missed it if they think that their success is not based on God, right? They've missed it 100%. So when I got into the financial arena, that's where my relationship with God strengthened, because I'm like, I cannot waver in this industry. I cannot be sidetracked. I cannot let fancy things or glittery things, throw me off, because I need to stay grounded in God, right? And that's where my relationship got really deeper. I wanted to understand more about Christianity and the Bible and what God is saying to me and what His promises are and all of that. So yeah, it's very, very strong. Like there's nothing or no one that I can accredit, for my success other than God, for sure. Obviously the people that He brings into my life, but that's where my rooting is.
Beautiful. And I think that's very encouraging in itself, because many times when we start to get successful, and persons tend to stray away from God, and then the focus is all about the work and the making money, and they forget who is the person that who has brought them to that point, and that God is the very one who gives us the strength and gives us the wisdom how to make money, how He gives us witty ideas to make wealth and all these things. So it's great that you have come to the place where you understand that where you are at is all because of God, and incorporating that, it only makes you stronger.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, because he's the individual who's going to give you the vision and bring the people to your life. And what I have been feeling a lot of in the last few weeks is a sense of peace. Mm-hmm. And that cannot come from any other source but God. It literally cannot. You're not going to find peace in man, because if you find peace or solace in man, they can take it away. Yes. And then that's not solid, right? You're depending, your emotions or whatever is dependent on another human being that is shaky in themselves as well, right? So if your peace or a peaceful disposition comes from God, then you are fine. You will be comfortable in your decision making. And that's not to say that everything goes well all the time. Like, absolutely not. But having that core value or knowing that, it's going to work out because who my source is, you're still in a peaceful disposition, because even if it doesn't work out, that means that something else has to be falling together, or maybe you just need to approach it a different way, but you're still going to be peaceful, right? And that all comes from one source.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful. All right, so a quick question. With the exception of Jesus, who would you say is your favorite Bible character and why?
Oh, this is easy. And I call myself Elijah, right? I call myself Elijah. And I was watching TD Jakes, right? I was watching TD Jakes a time back. And the thing is, I wasn't even supposed to be on that particular recording. Somebody sent me to watch another one, and I clicked that particular recording, and he was talking about, and he didn't call the Bible verse or anything, but he was talking about when you make a decision. He was just passionate. And when you make a decision, you have to boil the ox and burn the plow, and you can't go back. And no, make sure you don't have any plan B's. You just keep going forward. And then then he went on to talk about how Elisha was working his the field for his parents, and that he was passionate there because that's where the land got left for him and all of that, but that was not his purpose. So while Elisha is like, yes, he inherited all of this stuff, that was not his purpose, but he didn't have anybody to lead him to his purpose. And here Elijah is fighting. God is telling him to go on the mountaintop and all of that. And he hearing all these different voices, why you shouldn't do it, as opposed to listen to God. And he's still doing it, but still a little timid. But he's doing it, and then he gets to Elisha, and he is the person that shows Elisha the way to his purpose. And when I heard that story, I was like, what's this? What's this? Because it sounded like me, right? It's like, yes, I know I'm supposed to do this, but a little timid sometimes because somebody might say this, or but I know that I want to help people find their purpose. And I know that to do that, to really, really go after your purpose, you have to burn away everything. You have to boil the ox, burn the plow, like just cut off anything that can pull you back to where you're not supposed to be. So I Googled ox. I Googled boil the ox and burn the plow, and then that's how I found the story of Elijah and Elisha. So ever since then, I call myself Elijah, and in my girls club, it is like evident there. So yeah, my favorite Bible character is Elijah. That's easy.
All right, so tell us then, you mentioned, and I was going to get right into that as well. Tell us about the project Here to Soul Girls Club.
Yes, so that is my favorite thing on the planet, right? Like, I mentioned this was all the way back in first form. So this is 2010, 11. I'm in first form. I'm seeing these girls not having what I can get at home in terms of the relationship with my mom and guidance and that kind of stuff. And I knew that I wanted to facilitate that space. So that was in 2010, 2011. Then I forgot about it. You grew up, you get different interests, that kind of stuff. In 2013, I am at UE, sitting in the library, reading something, doing some schoolwork or something. And this vision came, like, it just was like, shh. And I flipped my notebook and I started to write. And the Lord knows that I would pay anything, because I wrote it in a book and I wrote it on my laptop. And I cannot find the book, and that laptop got mashed up. I would pay any price to get back the two of those things, right? But I don't have them, but you can never lose a memory like that. And I wrote it down. It was like non-profit organization. The vision told me the age 11 to 13. Wow. And the vision said to me, no girl, no parent should be paying for this girls club. It was clear. No person should pay for this girls club, and it was going to be mentorship, right? In the vision, I also wrote down that I'm going to be styling the girls' hair. But you know, when you start to make sense of things, everything isn't super practical. So down as this was the vision that I got in 2013. So I wrote down the vision, come to realize that having a nonprofit organization has expenses. So you have to rent somewhere. You have to get these girls like promote something. And when I started to check around about renting some place, then you have to pay public liability insurance, because if you have all of these individuals someplace, and I was like, what? I didn't see this in my vision. I didn't write this down. So now I had to, because I know I'm like 18, 19 at the time. So I closed down the book and I like, okay, that vision will happen when it happens. And in January 2018, when I heard that Instagram post, everything doesn't have to be perfect to start, just start. I got back up and I got another book. Obviously, I can't find my original book. And I sat on my mother's bed, and every single thing that I wrote down that I needed, a location, SJPP came, somebody suggested SJPP to me like the next day. The curriculum, I wrote down the curriculum, and then the following week, I was doing the client's hair. So and this was the first time that she came to me. I have no idea how the conversation started up to now. And I was telling her about this idea that came to me, not knowing that this lady's profession is, I can't remember her where she works, but her profession is facilitating programs for young people. Oh. So she's like, oh my gosh, that's such a brilliant idea. Do you need me to help you do anything? And I'm like, yes, I need to help me make this make sense, because I just have a paper and a pen right now. So now the location is checked. The curriculum is checked. Mm-hmm. She's now one of the coordinators. This is the first time I'm meeting this woman. Then the public liability insurance. I started to tell my aunt and my family and stuff about the vision. My uncle is working in insurance, and he's like, listen, I am insuring this club. And in less than 7 days, I had a flyer. And all my clients that I knew that had daughters between that age group, I was just telling them like casually, I want to start a club. And they already knew me, like, positive and that kind of stuff. And they were like, my daughter's coming. So we had one of my other clients, she's my good friend, and she's like, Danice, I'm going to sit at the school door at Polytechnic and I'm going to do the registration. And it was just in a notebook. Registration was a textbook, was a notebook that we were just writing down names and ticking. Like, it was nothing fancy. And when the girls came, we had 10 girls. So it might, even if it wasn't like fully like super fancy, the standard had to be there. So the girls had, from day one, girls wore t-shirts with their names on the back, all of that. They have customized notebooks. And because I felt as though God is not going to give me a vision and I'm going to do it mediocre. I don't care how much money it costs, anything like that. And that came to where when I started investing. So then it happened in the right timing, because now I could, finance it properly. So the girls had the notebooks and all of that. But apart from notebooks and shirts and how the club, the logistics of it, the feedback that I got from the parents after the first girls club, it was 6 Saturdays, back-to-back Saturdays, and the feedback, parents were crying at the last Saturday, because we had a graduation and all of that, and parents wanted to be in the club, because it's not, yes, I wrote down these topics on a piece of paper, but it was God-given, and it came from my heart. And my girls club is a big, when my girls club is in session, I don't work on Saturdays at my salon. And any hairstylist with a salon knows that Saturdays, you don't play with a Saturday at a salon. And 12 Saturdays, because I run the club twice a year, 12 Saturdays, I'm like, y'all can catch me in the week, because Saturdays belong to my girls, right? So once it is your purpose, it's not always going to be comfortable, but it has to be done, and you're gonna get it done. I put a post the other day. You're gonna blink and be like, wow, I got it done, right? It is finished, like, or this phase is finished. So yeah, my girls club, we go through. The girls have everything outside of academics. So we do bullying. I only do one session. I do the savings session. So we encourage the girls to understand how to do deposits, withdrawals, how to save, the importance of saving. Then we do bullying, conflict resolution. We outsource people to come in. We have policemen come in and talk about conflict resolution. We have guidance counselors. We bring in a chef to talk about etiquette. The girls get a day where they don't have to wear their t-shirt and jeans pants. They get to dress up. So we transform the classroom into a real restaurant with menus and all of that. And the girls dress up. Some of them, first time they've ever eaten out, gone to a restaurant in fancy clothes. And we can't underestimate stuff like that because girls aren't exposed. And it's sometimes because parents may have 2 or 3 or 6, in some cases a lot of children at close in age, they can't say, okay, get dressed, let's go to Champers or let's go somewhere and have a fancy dinner. So I'm going to bring the dinner to you, right? And then at the end, we always do an outing. I remember the first outing that really blew my mind. And it was as simple as we took the girls to the movies, to the Olympus cinemas. And it's like going to the movies is, just going to the movies, you're going to pay some money, go watch a movie, have popcorn. And we took the girls to the movies and have popcorn. We reserved some seats and that kind of stuff. And 2 parents at the time on the same day when they picked up the child, 2 parents said to me, these girls are 11. They've never been to the cinema. Never. Then while we were in the cinema, one young lady asked me, she was, because my girls can't call me ma'am because I feel so cool. They can't call me ma'am. They say Auntie Danice. So one young lady, she literally said to me, Auntie Danice, can I eat my popcorn in the cinema? And I'm like, yes, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to eat it in the movie. And I'm like, simple things that we're thinking, like, that's so obvious. A young lady, she was asking, like, where's the bathroom? And if you had to go back outside, now what happens if she goes out of the cinema and come back? I was like, nothing is gonna happen. Your seat will be here, like, it's fine. So it's just that simple going out. I think that it did more for me is expanding my mind and like taking me out of a bubble a bit to see, like, these simple things we have to serve in these areas, because now these girls just got exposed to going to the cinema, right? And there's parents that legitimately cannot do that. So yeah, my girls club is my heart. I can talk about this for the rest of the hour, but I'm sure you guys have other questions. So yeah, it's absolutely my heart, man. Mentorship on everything outside of academics, they already do that Monday to Friday. So anything that can make them well-rounded, that's what the club will do.